Welcome to the Explainer. We are just buried in data all the time, right? But what does any of it actually mean? Well, today we're going to dig into the art of taking a total mess of information and turning it into a story, something that's clear, that's compelling, and actually makes a point. So let's jump in and see how it's done.
Okay, so here's what we're starting with. Just look at this. It's a stream of raw numbers. What you're seeing is from a survey of 50 different families, and it's the number of kids each family has. But right now, it's just a jumble. It's chaotic, it's kind of overwhelming, and honestly, it tells us pretty much nothing.
So, how in the world do you make sense of this? How do we go from all this raw noise to a clear signal? Is there even a pattern hidden in all that mess?
And that feeling right there, that feeling of just drowning in data, that's our starting point.
So our very first step to get some clarity is something called classification. Think of this as the foundation, right? It's how we start to bring order to all that chaos.
Okay, so what is classification? Honestly, the best way to think about it is like sorting mail in a post office. It's just the simple process of making meaningful piles. You're just grouping things together based on what they have in common. That's it.
So right away, we have a choice to make. How are we going to sort this stuff? Are we going to group it by attributes? Things you can describe with words like employed versus unemployed. That's what we call qualitative data. Or are we going to group it by variables? Things you can actually measure, like salary or age. That's quantitative.
And if we dig just one level deeper, you'll see that even this quantitative data splits into two types. First, you have discrete data. This means it can only be a whole number. Our family survey is the perfect example, right? You can have 3 kids, but you can't have 3.5 kids. The other type is continuous data, and this can be pretty much any value. Think about a person's weight or a company's sales figures. It can have fractions and decimals.
Okay, so now that we know what kind of data we're dealing with, we can finally start to organize it. And we're going to use a tool called a frequency distribution.
Don't let the name fool you. A frequency distribution is just a super simple way of counting how often each number shows up. So here's how you do it. First, you just list out all the possible answers. For our survey, that's 0 children, 1 child, 2, and so on. Then, you just go through that messy list of numbers and make a tally mark for each one. And finally, you just count up the tallies. It's really that straightforward.
And boom, just like that, the chaos is gone. I mean, look at the difference. Now we have this clean, organized table that tells us a story instantly. You can see right away that 4 families have no kids, 12 families have 3 kids. You get the picture. This is clarity.
And hey, notice the total at the bottom? 50. That matches the number of families we surveyed in the first place. It's a great little check to make sure we've accounted for every single piece of data. Yep, no mail got lost in our sorting room.
Now, a table is good. It's great, actually. But a picture is even better. If you really want to get the story in a single glance, you've got to make a chart.
And that's really the whole point of a chart, isn't it? It's all about speed. Our brains are just wired to process a picture way, way faster than a list of numbers. It gives you that almost instant aha moment with the data.
So a really common tool for this is the bar diagram, or bar chart. And the most important defining feature here are the gaps. You see the spaces between the bars? Those gaps are a signal. They tell you that you're looking at separate, distinct categories, things like different years or different regions. Here's a perfect example. We're looking at population data. Each bar is a totally separate time period, and see how the gaps between them reinforce that idea? Your brain gets it instantly. You see the story, a clear pattern of growth over time.
But what if your data isn't in separate little buckets? What happens when it kind of flows from one group right into the next, like with age groups or salary brackets? Well, for that kind of continuous data, a bar diagram is actually the wrong choice. We're going to need a different tool for the job.
And that tool is the histogram. Now look closely and notice the critical difference. A bar diagram has those gaps, right, for separate categories, but a histogram's bars, they touch. They're all right next to each other. And that tells you that data is continuous, that it flows from one group directly into the next. That one little visual distinction, it means everything.
Okay, there's one last really powerful idea we need to cover. It's called cumulative frequency. And all it is, really, is a running total of our counts. And you'll see in a second why this is so cool.
It lets us answer a completely different and super useful kind of question. Let's see how it works with these salary brackets. It's easy. We start with the first frequency, which is 5. Then we just add the next one, 14, to get a running total of 19. Then we add the next one, 23, and our new total is 42. See? You're just building up the total as you go down the table.
So why bother doing this? Well, to instantly answer questions just like this one. How many employees earn less than 1,800 rupees a month? You don't have to add anything up. You just look at the cumulative frequency for that row, and the answer is right there, 92. No extra math needed. It's just incredibly efficient.
Okay, so this all brings us to our final and maybe most important point, why all these presentation choices matter so much. Because here's the thing, getting from that chaos to this clarity, it isn't magic. It's a series of deliberate choices that literally shape what we all see.
So what's the big takeaway from all this? It's that data does not speak for itself. We give it a voice. The way we choose to classify it, that creates the groups. The chart we pick, that creates the visual story. Every single step is a deliberate choice that shapes the final meaning.
And that leaves us with one last really crucial question to think about. The next time you see a chart, just remember that someone somewhere made all these choices. And if they chose the chart, did they also choose the story? That's something to chew on. Thanks for joining us on The Explainer.